Welcome back. So now we're letting our users in off the wait list, but they have no real way of knowing that they're off the list and that they can actually go and sign in and access the course. So we're going to get back into our project settings here and our authentication tab, and we're going to connect the end user sign up settings to SendGrid, our third party email provider, so that that user, when they get taken off the wait list by you, will get an email saying they can go sign in, and then there'll be a button in the email that they can click and it'll take them to the homepage where the sign in actions happen. So I previously mentioned we'd create our own move off waitlist action, but I'm pivoting it a bit here. Instead of building that action, we're gonna keep going to the end users table to move people off the waitlist, and then set up SendGrid here in our provider settings so they get that email. So one thing I'm going to do in the pattern is we had previously created a field in our users data collection called waitlist status. I'm going to delete that for this and remove it from the app because we're not going to use it now because we're going in this direction. So this lesson will show you a bit inside SendGrid, and then I'm also going to provide a bunch of resources in the app and the pattern about how to get through some of the API documentation, how to set up a SendGrid account potentially. But I'll show you here, this pattern is going to be really plug and play. So you're really just going to have to put in parameters for 3 placeholders because you can't use mine, which is an API key, your API key from SendGrid, a dynamic template ID, which is building an email template that you want to use to send this email, and then a group ID so users can unsubscribe. So I really like SendGrid. It's very user friendly. I'll show you a bit of their drag and drop email template builder, and then the other great thing about it is it's free up to 100 emails a day. So if you're not doing a ton of volume, it's free. So what I've done is gone back into authentication. We were here when we did our sign up, and I went through it a little bit. Our authentication type, I'm using password and token, but for this app and this course, we're only going to use password for sign in. Token is, think of it as like a magic link that you see in some apps where you'll get an email, you'll click a button, and by clicking that button, you'll have a token where your session is then verified and you're signed in. And then speaking of sessions, one thing we didn't get into earlier is session settings, and we're actually going to make a change here. Looks like I already did it. So there was the default of limited, and I think it was something like 30 days. So by default, this app, if you had signed in, you'd be signed out if you weren't active for 30 days. I'm actually going to go less restrictive of that and say if my user signed in, I'm just going to let them stay in forever and never force them myself to sign out automatically. So now let's go into our sign up settings. And remember, our sign up type is waitlist. We don't have like an immediate sign up. You have to get on the waitlist and then get taken off the waitlist to be able to sign in. And then we're going to edit the email provider settings in this move off waiting list password and token section. I'm using this one instead of just password because I want to have the flexibility of using a token or a magic link later and provide that in the pattern. But in this case, we'll set it up, but it's only as password only. So if I go into the edit email provider settings, this stuff will come in the app if you clone it. And so, like I said, there's some 3 things. It's kind of just plug and play. You're going to put in your own SendGrid API key here. I'm not exposing mine because I'm actually going to use it to test an email and then put this placeholder back. And then that's the header. In the body, I'll show you where to get your template ID from SendGrid so you can create multiple email templates, and this specifies which one you want to use. So you may have one for welcoming the user when they signed up, and then another one for moving them off the wait list, and then maybe another one for if you had like a forgot password action. And then the third thing is this group ID, which is, I'll show you again in SendGrid, is allowing them to unsubscribe from your email list. The other thing I'll put in placeholders for is my name and email address. That won't come in the pattern. You'll just put that in yourself. And then you won't need to worry about anything else. All this code here will be configured, and it'll work once you have your SendGrid set up, and then once you put your SendGrid details here. So I'm going to go into my SendGrid account. And first thing is in settings, API keys is where you would go, and it's very straightforward. You go in here, there's a button to click create API key. It'll create one for you, and then you'd copy that. And that's where you copied it in where we did before in our secret. And then also we're going to put the same one in the header for the SendGrid API call. So back in SendGrid, that's the API key. Now I've built under email API a dynamic template. I just created one here. You can create other ones by clicking this button, but this template is user moved off waitlist. I'll go in here and let's look at it. And this is where I just pulled in some text and gave it a very simple message that you're now off the waitlist and you have access to the course, and then let them click this button. Clicking this button opens the URL, which is the homepage that has the sign in action. And then over here, you give the email subject and the email pre-header. And then it's very, very easy to build a fancier email template than this very simplistic one. It's a UI drag and drop builder. So you drag in images, text, buttons, dividers, spaces, and then you can put in your own custom code if you want. But we're not doing that here. Then the only other thing I think I want to look at is, so if I click this button here, I gave it our primary blue color. Just copied it in there, very easy. And then change the text to sign in, and then put in the URL of what's the current, temporary live view URL of the homepage, and then save it. So so each template that you build is going to have a unique ID, and where you get that, I believe, is right here. So I opened it up. This is that template ID that you would just then copy and paste into here, where I'll have a placeholder telling you that's what you need to put there. And then the group IDs are required. And I believe this is under suppressions. Yeah, group unsubscribes. No, it's under unsubscribe groups. So I created a new group. It automatically gave this group ID, and then you're going to put that ID here. And then you'll put your name and email here, and you're done. So let's go test that this works. I am going to sign up another user because I think everybody's off the wait list by now, and then take that user off the wait list and make sure it gets that email from our dynamic template in SendGrid, and that'll be it. All right, so I paused and I signed up myself again with my alternate email address. And then I took myself off the waiting list just to make sure that that SendGrid setup worked, which it did. So I'll drag in my email. So you can see we got that email that we're granted access with our button, with our unsubscribe action. And then if I click my button, I know that URL works. So I can go ahead and sign in now. That's it. So we're basically done. I'm pretty sure the next lesson is actually going to be publishing the app. And I think the approach I'll take is, because Bildr gives you multiple environments in which to work. You start with a development environment, which is what I've been building in. And then you also have a test environment and a production environment in order to show how to publish to either, you can get a Bildr subdomain. So you could do something like mycourse.bildr.com, or you can go and obviously purchase your own subdomain, which I did for this course, coursegoat.com, and publish to a custom domain like that. And I'll show you how to do both. And the way I want to do it is, I think I'll publish the test environment to the Bildr subdomain and the production environment to my custom domain. And that one will be also the pattern that I'll share. That way I have a few layers of where I can work in terms of environments. And so if I make some future changes to this course or to this pattern or this app, I'll do it in my test environment and just update it there, and then that won't affect the pattern that's been published to production. So again, pretty sure that's the next lesson. So I'll see you in that one. Thanks. Bye.